Okay, so thanks for meeting with me again, Andrew. Really appreciate it.
Not a problem.
I'm excited to talk to you about minimalism and concept and all that fun stuff that we kind of talked about last time.
Yeah.
I think you have some interesting ideas on this, so I prepared some questions, and I think we can go through it and hopefully get some more insight into how you, as a illustrator and a designer, work. We'll start with the first question. What makes you want to keep things simple in your life?
With simplicity in life, it allows you to focus more on each thing instead of dispersing it among 8 or 7 or however many. I think it really comes down to the focus, and you appreciate it more. Right? You appreciate what you have instead of getting lost in how much you have.
It's a way for you to keep yourself focused and on a particular path.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you find you adhere to that all the time, or do you deviate a bit?
Most of the time I'm pretty on path. There's always going to be times where you just get a bit crazy and going in 8 different directions. That's why you sometimes just sit down and take a quick breath and get back on track.
Do you think that minimalism and creating effective ideas are mutually exclusive, or do you think that they're related to each other?
I think they're related. I mean, you can't really do minimalism without having an effective idea, or you can, but it just won't be as well done.
Right.
I find the whole basis behind minimalism is there's a strong concept, and then you don't need to be putting in bells and whistles or doing a whole bunch of stuff to display that concept and idea.
Do you think that there are situations where an idea would be ineffective if you treated that in a minimal way?
Yeah, well, I actually went to an art show about 2 weeks ago, and a friend had a poster in it, so I bought the poster, and it was titled The Small Thing, and so there, when it comes to that, you can't have a minimalist approach because that's fairly reductive, where the small things that had a bunch of tiny details all making into one large piece. There's always going to be times where minimalism isn't going to be a good approach to it.
Right. That's interesting. Okay. So actually that kind of leads into my next question, which is, I'm going to run a statement by you and see what you think of it. Getting rid of stuff doesn't automatically make you a minimalist, especially if you replace it with other stuff. Is reduction a process of shocking realization, or is it more about resisting temptation?
I think it's more about resisting the temptation to add more or add things that aren't important.
Right.
Everything should be based towards a concept. Then you start taking away what you don't need. It's all about having a conscious effort to resist putting stuff in that you don't need just because you want to, or make it look good.
Or it's a comfort, or it's something that you use as a crutch. I guess comfort and crutch can kind of be the same thing, but you've been looking at a lot of other people's work and you're finding that that's what you're thinking about, so you're being inspired by that.
Yeah, definitely. You're seeing, okay, these people have a lot of stuff in there that you may not need, or on the opposite spectrum, there's not enough there. And I mean, it's an attempt at reducing it, but there's always going too far.
Right.
When you lose the concept.
Yeah, and I think we kind of talked about this last time, and it was sort of an anecdote, but it was still interesting, was we talked about cars and how you find that a lot of cars are very similar to each other.
Yeah.
But not necessarily simple.
No.
I don't know if that's something that you want to talk about at all. I just thought it was a really interesting point. So.
Yeah, like cars today, they have so much going on with them, but in the overall picture, they look so much alike. I don't even know why they do it. It gets me so angry. I like the old style. Yeah, just
this weird desire to have a futuristic concept, but we don't even know what that means because future isn't here.
Basically, well, like, it's just all trying to be streamlined, and they're all competing for the same thing. There's only going to be, in the end, one way to be the most streamlined car.
Yeah, and that actually takes me to a weird tangent. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Demolition Man. with Wesley Snipes and Sylvester Stallone?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, anyway, this is kind of like an anecdote, but there's Wesley Snipes is this really awful criminal who is frozen for some reason, or something happens and he's trapped in time. And same happens with Sylvester Stallone. Like, they're having like a battle, or they're a gunfight or somewhere in like, I think it's Los Angeles, but somewhere in the States in the 90s, and then they get like frozen in time, and then they get unearthed, and they wake up in, I think it's like 2099 or something. And so at this point in time, this is a really long story, it's kind of a long tangent, but it's, they wake up and they find that so many things have changed, and one of the things that's changed is there's no variety of restaurants anymore. They're all called Taco Bell, and they're all owned by Taco Bell. Yeah. But like, you'll have these really nice fancy restaurants, and they'll have the Taco Bell logo on the top. Yeah. But it just goes back to your point of, why do things inevitably come back, or why do they circle back to the same thing? Is it because people are uninspired, or I don't know. That's where I was kind of going with. I was curious what you thought about that.
Further, I think people are trying to make life easier by simplification. Yeah, but it's becoming too simplified. Based off that, recently reading that they're working on in the future having that powdered food, and there'll be like different food for each person, or in like those movies where everything's a cube.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, sure, you can get different flavors out of it, but you're having the same thing at the same time. Yeah, I like my mashed potatoes mashed, not solidified in cube.
Or liquefied.
Yeah, or liquefied. I'd rather have actual, more tangible.
Sure.
Yeah, and with the Taco Bell, it's again all going to one thing. Taco Bell's the greatest.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're talking about simplicity, right? Or trying to keep things pure.
Yeah.
Actually, I think maybe that's a better way to put it. It's trying to keep things pure, right? Trying to keep it, your concept or your goal, as true to what the client or yourself is trying to like realize, right?
Yeah.
But when people run into these rituals or these habits, then they end up totally missing the point sometimes, I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's move on to the next question.
Okay.
Would you say there's a personal relationship, or you need to have a personal relationship with the work in order to keep things on point and simple and minimal?
I think it's probably better not to have a relationship with your work. It's almost impossible to do. I mean, with your work, you feel ownership and some sort of connection to it, but as far as making it pure and keeping it minimalistic, you have to give up some things that you really like, or you really want to be doing with this piece, and keep it focused on the concept. So say I want to be using this typeface or this illustration style, and I'm doing it, and it's looking great, but when you take a look back, well, it doesn't really look like what the client wants, or it doesn't stay true to the concept. It's just kind of there.
Right.
And that gets hard to get rid of because you feel connection to it.
Right. So in a way, it's almost like you're putting yourself into, it's going to sound cheesy because I know that's true, but you're putting yourself into the work.
Yeah.
And as a consequence of that, when someone changes it or doesn't like what you've done, then because you put yourself or invested your energy or whatever you want to call it into that work, and it needs to change, then it's sort of like a rejection in a way, or a failure, right? So that's partly why I asked the question, is like, how do you deal with that? I think inevitably we all invest ourselves in our work.
Yeah. I guess dealing with that, you have to realize it's not that they're saying this is bad work. They're saying it's not what they need.
Right.
And that's really what the minimalism and keeping it focused is about, is what you need versus what you want to do.
Right.
And you just have to say, okay, well, I'll do it another time when it makes sense.
Right. Cool. Next question. Does your aesthetic taste, and when I say your aesthetic, I mean yours personally, become impacted by the decision-making process?
It changes a bit. I mean, working with different clients, I don't think that really affects it. You're always going to have your own personal taste to what they want, and you have to do what they want. That's just the job you're getting paid to. But making decisions and liking to have a minimalist approach, that I just like the general feel to it. It's right to the point. It's efficient, and I like efficiency in work. You're not wasting time. You're not wasting paper, ink. You're really focused on it. Not to say that I don't like a piece that has a whole bunch of smaller details that I think I could probably appreciate it more, knowing, well, they're doing all this work, and the fact that it works well.
Right.
Then you can see, okay, well, maybe I could expand more into there, or and innovate my style personally.
You would say then that there is value in doing something maybe that you don't personally like, and you're not going to be restricted to projects where you're dealing with something that's outside of your palette or your aesthetic preferences.
Yeah, no, it's a learning experience. It's opportunity to grow. Right. Even if you don't like it, well, you should find a way to like the work, even if it's one thing in the project.
Right. Because obviously the person asked you to work with them because they like something about your work, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of talked about this, but let's talk about it a little bit more, because I want to go over it in a little more detail. But do you think there's an area in which being very detailed or having a complexity of idea, or again, subject, or whatever you want to call it, is necessary?
Yeah, I would say there are going to be situations where you need high complexity in the work.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're going to try to reduce it as much as you can. Again, keeping with the form and pure. There's going to be times where you're going to have to put 1,000 little pieces together to make the puzzle.
Right.
Yeah. So there's always going to be a opportunity to do that.
I know it's kind of putting you on the spot, but can you think of any specific examples where you've done that, where you've, because I recognize from what I know of your work and what we spoke about, that's sort of your modus operandi, is to be very clean and to the point and very defined. But have you found there's been a project where you had to sort of put a bunch of stuff in and make it really complicated, and then still have a goal or a result or something that you're trying to achieve with it?
Probably when it comes down to branding, there's been one or two where you have to put all this information onto the page, like the names of the people for the research. We need to add all this type in, and you're trying to fit it all together and keep it clean and simplistic, and it's almost impossible. We ended up finding a way, just reducing. I had to say, okay, well, we're not going to be able to fit 8 pictures on this page. I can do 4 or 5.
But you still pushed it a little bit, right? You're like, okay.
Oh yeah. yeah. Well, they needed examples, and that was dealing with informational posters, that what you have to deal with, or when it comes to infographics. There's going to be a lot of information, and it's all about your hierarchy and how, when, and who to call, and different techniques. And so it was all about, okay, well, make sure this is the most important, the most highest, and then work on the hierarchy.
That's interesting.
And we had to get it done in 5 hours.
So you're pressured for time, obviously.
Pressured for time as well, yeah. The client thought, it'll take about 2-3 hours, and then it's going to be taking more time, but you have to keep the same time frame.
Right. Do you think that time can help when you're trying to keep things simple?
Oh yeah, definitely. It makes you really focus down and get the main stuff done. I would still like some more time, of course.
Everyone does, but
Yeah.
do you sincerely believe that having more time is better than having less time? If you were in a situation where you knew you had done a successful project, did it come as a result of having more time or having less time? And I know it's kind of painting it all with the same brush, but
now that I think of it, most of the time you just really have to buckle down. So yeah, I guess less time sometimes is better.
Right.
It just makes you really focus on the main thing, keep on the concept, and then once you get the ball rolling, it's no time at all.
Cool.
Yeah.
So there you go. Do you find that you have more personal heroes than you do have professional heroes when it comes to your work and this ideology of minimalism?
I think it's about even. I have some family that when I was growing up are very minimalist, and then there's designers that I follow that are minimalist as well. Yeah, when it comes to it though, the major impacts have been Bauhaus movement, Russian constructivism,
Sure,
and seeing how little do you need to make an concept work.
Next question. So we talked a bit about how you keep things simple in your life, but we didn't talk about what sorts of things you keep in your life or don't include in your life.
Yeah, it's all about keeping the basics and keeping what you need. When it comes to possessions, I'm not one to have a whole bunch of meaningless junk around the place. I like keeping it clean, and something can stay if it has real impact on myself. And then relationships, you're going to have one or two best friends, and you're going to have a small group. Yeah, I just like it better that way. You're going to have the main people in your life, and you know they're going to be there, instead of having 500. I don't know how many people I have on Facebook. I've seen people with 3,000, and how do you talk to them? And I couldn't go through that.
Because I honestly don't think everyone really has 1,400 friends or 3,000 friends. They probably have a much tighter knit group than that.
Yeah.
But that recognition of who do you want to have in your corner, or who are your 5 people, maybe 5 is the wrong number, but you know what I'm saying, is being selective and choosing people. What types of people do you surround yourself with? Are they people who are similar passions to you, similar beliefs to you in terms of how they organize their life?
I normally base it off of certain qualities that someone has, positive outlook, general kindness, and then it goes down to different views, like just general acceptance of other people. And of course, you're going to have different groups of, these ones share the same passion. It's not that I base it off of, you have the same passion, that means we're going to be friends.
Right.
You have a good character,
sure,
and personality, so that's why we're friends.
Sort of in that same vein, what kind of rituals do you have or things do you do to keep yourself focused and maintain that positive outlook or that level of kindness or whatever other ideological beliefs you have that are part of your mindset?
I would say music is a huge one. About 3 years ago, I made a decision, I'm not going to have any songs about sadness or that'll get me angry, and so they're all going to be either upbeat or calming. So that's a huge one, and that's what I turn to if I get frustrated with a project or needing more time, just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Another thing would be taking breaks and enjoying little things in life.
Yeah.
Taking a quick walk and seeing all the trees. And,
sure.
And at least I don't live in the desert because I like the trees.
So grounding yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Grounding yourself and keeping yourself composed.
It's interesting that you mentioned the music thing because I went through a similar exercise myself, although to be honest, it wasn't entirely my own doing. It was, and I was in a relationship at the time with this woman, and it was more her doing. And it was the inherent value of it was, why would you put something into your life that's going to end up making you unhappy in your life? I didn't abandon that idea after having that period of isolation from it, or that period where I had to sort of reconstruct my identity and figure out who I was. So it's interesting that you say that, because I think that is a very good example of keeping it minimal, because who you surround yourself with, what you surround yourself with, and what sorts of things you spend your time on define who you are. The persona you put out into the world, it's actually who you
what
are.
makes
Right?
you.
Do you think you have any habits that prevent you from being minimalistic or sort of innovating? And again, we talked about this a little bit earlier on about how people get into these ruts and they do keep things simple, but they end up actually doing all the same sorts of things. So they're not really being pure in their form or pure in their concept.
Probably are. I would say even being a minimalist restricts me from growing and keeping minimalistic. It gets you into a rut or a state that there's no change in your life, and then it's just all the same. And then at that point, you just want to go out and meet new people or get out of the state of being in the same way of life. So I would say that was always a tough question. I was trying to find out.
I'm trying not to throw curveballs at you, but we're having a really interesting discussion about this. So
yeah, no, that's all right. Maybe just general shyness keeps me from going out and discovering more of the world. It's like I'd rather be at home or in the same group or with one or two people instead of meeting a third or fourth person.
Sure. So this is kind of like something new and different for you to go out and just talk about design with someone you don't know at all.
Oh yeah, no, it was. I'm trying to take a chance and grow with that. Yeah.
Cool. Let's move on to something else. Okay, I'll talk about this just because I want to expand a little more on what we just talked about. Right. How often do you set personal goals? And when you set them, what kind of personal goals are you setting for yourself?
Personal goals, I set them when they come up. Back in school, it was second year, and I made it a goal to talk to one person a day. Once that goes, it's okay, well, let's talk to 2 or 3 or however many. And so always good to have a goal and shouldn't restrict it to 1 year on New Year's Day. Yeah, this is what I'm going to do. No.
Yeah.
It's always changing, so I'd say even monthly set a goal.
In this sort of minimalistic space, do you find that you have sort of 1 or 2 at a time then? Or
Yeah, there's only 1 or 2. It's not that I have 8 different goals, a whole bunch that spreading out. It's keeping focused on 1 or 2 things and driving towards that.
And in terms of your achievement of those goals, have you found that has helped you to come to those results faster, or is it more of just something that you find, whether or not you do it quickly or not, it's just something that makes more productive results? Which is it both?
I think it just makes more productive results. Things come when they come. I can't change the pace of it, but I feel like I accomplish more when I'm just dealing with 1 or 2 things, and then when you finally accomplish it, you look at all the work that you put into it, realize that it's just a bit more rewarding.
The statement, creating boundaries makes room to expand in all directions. Do you agree with this statement or disagree with it?
I would disagree.
Okay, and why is that?
I wouldn't say that boundaries are needed. I would say you need to have a starting point or a fixed point, and then you can expand in those directions, because you can't really block creativity. You're going to have ideas that are way out of what other people have boundaries, but get it out there and perhaps it works. Whereas if you have a boundary, then you're confining yourself to what you can and cannot do. It's better if you have one point that holds you to it.
You would say then that start with one point of contact, not multiple points of contact, because the multiple points is what effectively creates the boundaries, right?
Yeah, so like almost like a brain map or a bubble map. You have the one jumping off point, then you let your mind go, and then at the end of it, just reground yourself.
Let's talk about college and university and all that. What do you think? Because we talked about this a bit last time too.
Yeah.
What do you think some of the biggest challenges or mistakes you see up and coming people who are in creative industries making?
Yeah, I would say some challenges or mistake is keeping to yourself. In this industry, it's a lot more open to what you can do, and it would be a shame if you kept quiet the entire time and then at the end of it, you don't really learn from all the people around you, right? And interact and just enjoy life. I think that's the key one, or even staying up and pulling all-nighter, that would be a mistake.
Oh, so it's bad to do that.
Yeah, you need to know your own limitations. Rest helps your mind work, and it helps stimulate creativity from getting that rest, and also makes you or keeps you accountable to having a time frame and a schedule.
Whereas if you pull an all-nighter at the very end, sure, you've set up parameters to get the project done, but you haven't really understood the creative process.
Yeah, it just kind of happens at that point, and you may not get the best results, or you could have a plan like, okay, well, I'm going to get this done, and if I need to, I can stay up all night, or you're just walking yourself into staying up all night. You're like, okay, well, I still have time, because I do all night.
Sure.
Instead of saying, I have to get it done by 11 or 12. That keeps you accountable to keeping on with the creative process, and you can really flesh that out instead of ramble for ideas.
Do you think that the post-secondary is the right avenue for the majority of people to explore and develop themselves?
Yeah, definitely. I've learned so much over the 3 years of post-secondary that I couldn't even imagine coming out of high school. I remember coming out of high school, it's like, okay, well, I know how to do design. And then the first class is like, I have no idea how to do design. This is so much that they're teaching me. And it's really helpful.
Would you recommend taking a general degree, or would you recommend really honing in at some point and saying, this is what I want to achieve?
I would recommend honing in on what you want to do, and that just keeps you focused. And there's going to be situations, of course, where maybe a general degree is better for people who are a bit unsure of what they want to do, or they have a general idea and they want to feel the water.
Right.
But generally, I would say knowing what you want to do is so much more motivating and focusing for you. So if you want to become a designer, you know right from the start, I'm going to want to be a designer.
Do you find that that's something that you've aspired to right away? Because I know a lot of people who go through a creative program sort of muddle their way through it.
Yeah, no, for me it was right away. I've loved drawing for years, and then introduced to design grade 10, knowing that I really enjoy doing that.
Right.
There's opportunity at Grant MacEwan, go there and work through that. It's always been become an illustrator, take the illustration major. There was one point that I thought about digital media, but it was just reading the words, and they're like, oh, well, digital media, you do this, and it's like, oh, well, I can do my drawing with that.
Right.
No, it's different. It's like, okay, no, I want to keep on this road.
Great. That makes sense. How do you think concepts should be developed, and how can you meet the needs of your client by doing that?
I think the client should be setting the goal. Like at the final point, this is what we want to be showing, and then, or at least have a general idea, and then from there you can go off with the concept and keep striving towards that. There was one project I recently did, and one that I'm working on now. They just said, we need this for the job. Do what you need to do. And well, I don't know enough of what you guys want to be showing, or enough information, so I need to do research, which I do anyways. But even with that, there's so much behind the scenes of what you guys want personally, and I don't want to be wasting anyone's time drawing up this concept and you saying this is not what we want.
Right. By doing that, you would say then that that's how you meet people's requirements, is by really defining the parameters of what they want out from the outset.
Yeah, so it starts off with defining what they want, and then you move into your research where you kind of find out, well, they say they want this, and their company, what you research from that wants a bit of this. How can you work both of them together?
What sort of challenges have you faced in doing that with clients?
Lack of information from the client is a huge one, and a lack of direction. Sometimes it's, we need this done. They give you a concept, but it's not a well-processed concept. It's kind of a last minute, oh, we need a concept for the designer, let's tell them this.
Right.
And from there you can't do as much as you want or know as much as you want from last minute. It needs to be thought out and then executed.
Do you need to find a common ground with the client at the beginning of a project in order to understand what the goal is?
Yeah, I would say so. I think it's always good to have basic understanding from each of you of what you want, and then going from there, you can just, if you can really connect, even on an idea, if you can say, oh yeah, we really like this kind of direction that you're talking about, and you're like, okay, well yeah, I liked it too, and then you can just gets you moving a lot quicker. All the pieces need to be in place.
Right. Yeah, because you could have a basic structure, but without everything sort of working together, it's not going to work as well.
Yeah.
The statement, every design decision can make the user experience better or worse. Is that a true statement or is that a false statement?
I would say it's a true statement. As a designer, everything you do should be to better the design, better the user experience, better the concept. Adding or not having certain details in there could make a poor or great user experience.
Right. And having a set of parameters and working with the client and understanding each other, then every decision you're making should be, in theory, be working towards making a good product.
Definitely, yeah.
But without those basic details or basic structure or aspects or traits, you won't get the results. And that was going to be one of the things I was going to finish the interview with, was to find out why do you do the things you do or where you come from. But I think kept hitting that same point home over and over and over again, which is you do these things because if you didn't, you wouldn't be a good designer.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you stop caring about the process and stop caring about what the client is trying to accomplish, then you're not making a commercial work or a collaborative work anymore. You're making something for yourself.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that was gonna be the question: is if we're working with these parameters, why is this valuable? But the answer is it's valuable because it's not about you; it's about
the concept, the client, the job.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we're lucky enough to have it, our passion, be a job.
Right.
Now it's time to give what we love to do and make it help others.
Right. This has been really awesome, Andrew. I thought this was really valuable. I hope that we can do this again at some point soon, because I think there's a lot of really cool stuff we almost touched on, and I don't want to go into it too much, but you have a lot of interesting insights into stuff, and I'm excited to see where you go with your career, because it's not very often that you meet someone who genuinely gets it, like gets why you do it and what to do with it. So thank you again.
Well,
it's
thank
been really
you for
good.
having me. Yeah, it was real good. No, me too.
Awesome.